so they decided to merge. So now these once bitter rivals will now join forces and form a new league on a global basis.
Ken, thanks for that wrap up. There'll be questions about caving in and giving in to this whole thing. Plenty more of that throughout the day, certainly. It's a busy weather day with wildfire smoke and a level 1 risk for severe storms today.
Yeah, Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with a look at who has the chance for storms this afternoon, Elizabeth.
It's down here in the Sandhills, so it's most of Cumberland County, including Fayetteville, all of Hoke County, a little piece of Lee County and Harnett County, and then most of Moore County. That's where our level 1 risk is. Biggest threat would be from damaging winds and possibly some hail. This is going to come through pretty quickly, and a lot of it looks like it's developing a little bit closer to the coast. Let's take a look at Futurecast, and we kick things off, and we're looking at some cloud cover here and there, especially down in some of our southern counties. Watch this right at 1:30. An isolated shower shows up here on Futurecast here in Johnston County over into Wayne County. That one does not look like it's going to develop into a thunderstorm, but watch what happens here at 2:30. We begin to see some cells. Notice the ones there off to our south and east where we have some of the yellows and reds popping up, and then all of that slides eastward. So the computer models are not terribly on board with seeing these scattered thunderstorms. This particular one shows our best chance, but again, a lot of that develops just in the very far southern part of the viewing area and continues to slide off to the east. We have another similar scenario for tomorrow. It's a level 1 risk in the same sort of area. We'll walk through that with Futurecast coming up in just a bit. Tomorrow looks like a better chance that we would have rain with a cold front coming through. Take a look at the airport. You can see we continue to have hazy skies. We have wildfires in Canada and a northerly flow. Those northerly winds are pushing that haze into our area. We have a code yellow ozone forecast for today, which is moderate, something that we see fairly regularly in the summertime. But a code orange is an action day. Code orange means it's unhealthy for sensitive groups like young children, the elderly, people with asthma or other respiratory issues. And that's the forecast for tomorrow. One thing about tomorrow is we'll have more cloud cover and a better chance for rain. That may help to settle some of the pollution, some of the smoke in the atmosphere. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up in just a little bit. But we do have more on the air pollution coming up. Michelle?
Yeah, that's right, Elizabeth. A lot of people saw that haze from the smoke this morning, including myself. Elizabeth was just talking about the air quality. 73 million Americans are under air quality alerts today from New York here and all the way in North Carolina. That's because smoke is drifting from the huge wildfires burning in Canada, as Elizabeth mentioned. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan joins us with how we can stay safe, Chelsea.
Yeah, I just want to give you a good perspective here. We're at Dix Park at the flower fields, and let me step aside so you can really see with the Raleigh skyline, that haze in the air. It almost looks like fog or overcast skies. As you mentioned, you may be stepping outside today and seeing this haze or even smelling that faint smell of smoke in the air. I know I did this morning. Now, the wildfires, as Elizabeth mentioned, in Canada, over 1,000 miles away, have caused a spike in that air pollution that's now affecting our area and prompting these air quality alerts. No worries, though, for most folks in the air, although tomorrow we could see a code orange issued, which then would pose that threat for sensitive groups of people.
While we have the smoke around, people who are young children, the elderly, if you have asthma or other respiratory issues, you just don't want to overdo it with this amount of particulates, this amount of smoke in the atmosphere. For general healthy adults, you can go about your daily life. Feel free to exercise.
And just a handful of folks I can see over to my right-hand side enjoying a picnic. That skyline just a bit different than it normally is on a usual noon time during the week. But of course, keep it right here to WRAL for the latest on those air quality alerts.
All right, Chelsea Donovan live at Dix Park. Thanks, Chelsea. And Durham police are investigating a shooting that happened just before 9 o'clock this morning. They responded to North Driver Street, where they found one person dead. WRAL's Monica Casey explains what happened when police arrived on scene.
Part of Taylor Street in East Durham remains blocked off as DPD investigates a shooting with the mobile command unit and half a dozen police cars on scene. Durham police and EMS responded to a crisis call this morning. They say when they arrived on scene here, a man was having a crisis. He told them an argument had occurred and another man had been shot. Officers searched the home and found that victim. He was pronounced dead on scene. DPD tells me the man in crisis was transported to a local hospital. DPD says based on their preliminary investigation, this was an isolated incident. This is still an active investigation. Monica Casey, WRAL News in Durham.
And breaking at noon, troopers say street racing was a factor in a crash that killed a 66-year-old Durham woman. Troopers say 2 cars were racing on US 15 in Granville County Friday night. One of them crossed the center line and hit an oncoming car head-on. Brenda Gregory was killed. Terrell Curry is charged in her death. Friends of Gregory tell WRAL she was a caring woman who worked at Sandy Ridge Elementary in Durham.
Just after midnight, another earthquake was recorded in western North Carolina. It's the 7th one in 2 weeks, all within a mile of each other. It sounds like a lot, but experts say this isn't what you might think. WRAL meteorologist Brian Schrader has been brushing up on his seismology. He's here now with some context on what's happening, Brian.
Is one of the topics that we cover. I want to update you about what we've learned about this morning's earthquake. It was a magnitude 2.5, and it happened just after midnight with that epicenter about 2 miles north of Canton. And as we said, this is the 7th earthquake in the past 2 weeks in that area, and the 3rd in as many days, all of them centered within a mile of each other near Canton, west of Asheville. Well, I asked NC State geologist Dr. Paula Figueiredo what is going on here. She says it's too soon to say exactly what's happening, but it is possible that contact between rocks underground is acting as a kind of fault, and that can lead to small earthquakes.
It's a sort of a scar. It can work as a scar. And so those are places where you may tend to have little quakes, but we don't know if that's the case.
She says it's also possible that this is a previously unknown fault, similar to the one that produced the 2020 earthquake in Sparta, North Carolina, in the mountains, which we felt here in the Triangle. So will there be stronger earthquakes after this swarm of earthquakes? Dr. Figueiredo says it is impossible to say, but it's always a good idea to keep in mind that you need to be prepared for any kind of natural disaster, whether it's a thunderstorm, tornado, hurricane, or maybe even an earthquake.
All right, true that. We will wait and see. Brian, thank you.
The city of Raleigh is buying the old division of motor vehicles